the podcast. I'm Jordy Lucas, your host and founder of It's All Her. I was an actress in a previous life and I'm a mum to a toddler. I've got a lot going on and I have a passion for helping women live simpler, better lives. Now, September is Blood Cancer Awareness Month, so this week on the site, we have one woman tell her story of how she has lived with leukemia for the last 10 years and what Natalie has been able to achieve despite her diagnosis, which currently has no cure, is incredible. It's a very inspiring read, and we've also linked in our podcast episode with Bryony Benjamin within that article as well. If you didn't catch Bryony's episode, she was a video producer at Mamma Mia who received her leukemia diagnosis 18 months after she started showing symptoms. Now, unbelievably, she made a full recovery, but my chat with her just highlighted how important it is to advocate for yourself when you know something isn't right. So I'll leave the links to Natalie's article and Bryony's episode in the show notes, and if you can, please donate to the Leukemia Foundation this month. I will leave links to their page as well. Now to this week's guest. Steph Pase shares her organisation tips and tricks with her massive online following, and I believe she's Australia's answer to Marie Kondo. Also known as Just Another Mummy blog, Steph is on a mission to make motherhood less daunting for women as she shares her tips on getting on top of things around the home. She also shares her battle with postnatal depression and anxiety. Now, if you follow my personal Instagram, you'll know that I still suffer pretty badly with postnatal anxiety, and so much of Steph's story mirrors mine. So I was really excited to share our experience and talk about it. We also hear about how to turn your business idea into a reality and what's next for Steph Pase planners. And if you're wanting to get a product idea off the ground, you must stay tuned for her advice on that. Here's my chat with Steph. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast this week. Now, our listeners may also know you from Just Another Mummy blog. How are you going? I know you're in lockdown week 9.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you virtually. Yes, week 9. It's a great time. Not really. Trying to keep sane. I'm very lucky, obviously, having my online business. I can still come to the warehouse and pack orders. So that has been my sanity. But yeah, I'm very, very lucky in that respect because I know a lot of other people are, stuck at home all the time. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. So tell me about how you got your start on Instagram. You've got over 200,000 followers just on Instagram alone. How did it all begin for you?
It's so funny because it feels like a lifetime ago. So I basically started my Instagram / blog website or whatever you want to call it when my first daughter Harper was born. So that was about 5.5 years ago now. And I literally just started it because, I was a new mum. Yep. None of my friends at the time had kids. So I felt pretty alone. I think I was about 25. So relatively young. Yeah. And I felt really alone. And I think especially for me, I suffer with anxiety and I actually did get some postnatal depression, but I really needed something kind of like a hobby to keep me occupied, kind of help me structure my day a little bit. As you guys would know, I'm very much about routine and structure. So, having a baby literally throws a huge spanner in the works, and it's the biggest change a woman I think will ever go through. So for me, I really felt like I needed an outlet just to, journal my thoughts, connect to other mums. And that was really my saving grace. Like we all feel like, they say it takes a village to raise a child. And I really think, a mother alone needs a community that they can talk to. So it literally started from that. And I kind of just, back then it was Snapchat days, I think. There was no Instagram stories. So I would hop on Snapchat on every day and just connect with other mums. And it was, it was pretty scary. I think anyone, having their own business or showing up online would understand it can be quite daunting showing up. I'm sure did you kind of get that feeling when you started the podcast? Did you get a bit like?
Yeah, it is daunting sharing things. And I think the scary thing is that you're never going to please everyone. So there's always going to be someone who disagrees with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Or who doesn't agree with the way you parent your child. So yeah, it is scary, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think when you can kind of accept that, as what you said, like you can't please everyone.
Yeah.
And it's still something I still learn even now when I make products. I'm like, not everyone's going to like what I make, and that's okay. Like you want to cater to your community and who aligns with you.
Yeah.
And my husband, actually, Ryan, he was the one who kind of pushed me to doing it, because I was always second guess myself, and I'm like, no, I look like an idiot. People, because it wasn't like not many people were really doing it back then. Like there was some bloggers, but there wasn't many.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because mummy blogging is such a huge thing, but it's also a way for women to make money when they're at home with kids. When did you realize, this could actually be more than just a sort of passion project? And when did you realize it could turn into a bit of a job and an income?
Yeah, it's funny because when I started, I had no idea that, like, I had no idea about like influencers or whatever it is. And I actually made the name Just Another Mummy Blog as like a joke, because I was like, yep, just another one. And now I hate the name, but Instagram won't let me change it because I've got that verification tick. So now I can't change the name. It's so annoying.
Oh.
Yeah, you can't change it. It's like I have to send a pigeon or something, or an owl to Instagram to ask them to approve it. I'm like, how am I meant to do that? So funny. So I kind of made it as a joke, but it was daunting, but it really did empower me. And I think, coming out of high school and then becoming a mother, you kind of can lose who you are, like you're trying to learn who you are as a person. So it did help. And then from there, I think when I started realizing it can be a job is when brands would start writing to me, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what is this? I remember my first ever brand wanted to send me, it was like a dog subscription box. So it was like they send you dog toys every month. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, Ryan, look at this. They want to send me something. Yeah. And Ryan's like, Steph, you're not doing that. So, and I think for me, it really started taking off. I think it was before all the organizing was happening on Instagram, because for me, Ryan and I always lived in small units. So for me, we didn't have much space. So I had to really utilize like decluttering. I had to maximize the space we had. So I just kind of started sharing my little hacks that I've been doing for years, and then it kind of took off. And then I know, because I've known forever who Marie Kondo is. She's that organizing lady that's on Netflix, but I've known who she is forever. And then she kind of got big, and then I think because I was already organizing, my platform took off even more. Yeah. Right. So I think it was maybe 3 years in till like there was never really a moment I was like, wow, this is a business. But it kind of just evolved as I went along.
You share so much online, and I was reading your blog, and there was one particular one about your experience with postnatal depression and anxiety, and it was honestly like I could have been reading something that I wrote myself. Like the women in my family all suffer anxiety. I can remember way back being a little girl suffering with it. Can you tell us some of your earliest memories of suffering with anxiety?
Yeah, for sure. And it's kind of crazy because it's like, as you said, that's all you can remember. And I was quite grateful in the respect that, as you said, the women in my family have anxiety. So as soon as I'd have like anxiety attacks and stuff like that, my mum would straight away tell me what it was. So it's not like I never felt like there was something wrong with me, which was a really, really good support network I had. And I do feel for women reach out to me all the time, and they're experiencing anxiety and panic attacks. Yeah. And they think they're dying. Like they're like, what is going on? Like they think they're having a heart attack. And that's what it feels like. Don't you agree? Like it feels like you're having a heart attack.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's horrible. So if you don't have people around you telling you what's going on, that'd be mortifying. But I remember probably my earliest memory was, I think it was like my first day of kindergarten, and I remember crying to my mum and freaking out. I was like, I don't want to go to year 6. I don't want to go to year 6. Mum's like, what? Yeah. I just panic about the future, and I feel like people that suffer with anxiety, like for me, I'm always in the future, and it's like I'm trying to learn to be more present.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's something with me as well, especially becoming a mum. You worry about what could happen in the future with your kids, and that has been such a huge source of anxiety for me since becoming a mum.
Oh, absolutely. You're just thinking about everything. Like, for me, for example, it's funny because like I've always had anxiety, but I've never been anxious on planes. And then ever since I've become a mum, I freak out every time I get on a plane. Not that I've been able to for a long time, but just things I wasn't scared of before, now I'm scared of.
Yeah. What are some of your sort of triggers even before you were a mum? What were some of the triggers for you to?
I think for me, it's like if I know, especially like as a mum, I feel like we wear so many hats, but when I have a lot of different like important things to do in like say work and then home and then something to do with my kids, like that type of thing triggers me pretty easily. And that's why I'm so big on organization and planning. And it's a huge trigger for me. So something like that. And then also like just being away from my family is a huge trigger. I'm always like worried about if something happens.
Yeah.
Travel, that's a big trigger, which never used to be. But yeah, it's mostly about when I have a lot of events on, even like if I always have a big week, but when it's on different sections of my life, because I'm always feeling like I'm torn. Like I feel like any mum feels like this, even if you work or not, you constantly feel like you're torn between like all the different people and different roles you play in your life.
Yeah. Because we wear so many hats, don't we? We're mums, wives, workers, care, like exactly. We're everything.
Yeah, and it's really like it does, even if you don't have anxiety, like it's going to cause anyone to feel anxious when you think about it.
And sort of panic attacks and anxiety looks different for everyone. How does a panic attack present for you?
I'm quite internal with mine.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people wouldn't know that I'm having one.
Yeah. Most of the time, it's like internal, but Ryan will know, my husband, because he knows I'm quite a chatty person. And as soon as I kind of shut down, he knows I'm going through something. So he'll just distract the kids so I'm very internal, but inside you feel like you're going to explode.
Yeah. It's really hard, isn't it? Do you worry about the girls suffering?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. And I think because like, obviously, as we both know, like when anxiety runs in your family, it's something you like, that's my worst fear for the girls. And I already start to feel a little bit like that with Harper. She's 5. I'm starting to see a little bit of traits in her that could possibly be that. I'm hoping it's not. I hope it's just me overreacting.
Which is anxiety as well.
I'm just anxious about them being anxious.
Yeah.
But it is definitely a thing, but I'm hoping that with the tools that I've learned and the fact, just me having that comfort, knowing that when I was little and I was going through the same thing, that my mum reassured me, that I can pass that down and reassure her. And I feel like it's a lot more spoken about now.
Yeah, definitely. So how do you sort of cope on a day-to-day basis? What are some of the things that you've learned over the years, just to make life more manageable? Because I have felt sometimes in the past like, my God, this is like so overwhelming, and it's a constant daily thing that you deal with. So how do you cope on the daily?
Well, for me, this is where my organisation and planning came into play, because growing up as like a teenager, I was the messiest person on the planet, which people struggle to believe, but I was the messiest kid. My mum, I remember I used to have this shelf of toys and it was just so messy. My mum couldn't stand it. She put a shower curtain on it because she's God. I was so messy. And it's funny because as I started like my teenage years and in my early 20s, it started getting really, really bad. Like it was even affecting my actual health, because I'd see the clutter, and then to, distract myself from that, I'd eat junk. I started binge drinking, just all the bad habits started creeping up on me. And I think it was when Ryan and I moved into one of our first homes, and it was quite a small unit, and I was like forced to declutter, and because I just was so sick of living in that clutter. And you would be so surprised how much clutter affects your mental and physical health.
Yeah.
It's a huge, huge thing. So it's like, say for example, you go home, like say if you work from home, or if you go home to get something done, if your house is a mess, it is your brain. So your brain likes things to be organized. It's how we're made. So for us, having that clutter is already going to raise your cortisol levels. There's actually like studies on this.
On it, yeah.
Yeah. And it straight away, you will either not get what you need to do done. You won't be productive because you're too distracted by all the junk, or you will start to try and make yourself feel better. So you'll probably start, eating, watching TV, doing something that's just not doing what you're meant to be doing. It's a huge thing. And I think once you start cleaning up that clutter around you, your brain, like you're going to feel so much more light. and you're going to be able to think clearly. You're not going to have that brain fog. And a lot of the time that brain fog is literally because of clutter around you.
Yeah.
And then also for me to manage day-to-day life is one of the little things I like to do is basically, like, I'm a huge advocate for planning. Obviously, I've got my brand Steph Pase planners, clearly. But honestly, writing things down is so good for your mental health because you carry so much like of a mental load, like trying to remember all the things you have to do.
Yeah.
That within itself is more stressful than doing the tasks that you have to do. Literally, it's more stressful. So writing it down on paper and just doing a big brain dump, it helps so much. Yeah. And then also what I like to do is, obviously I've got my to-do list, so I'll write out what I need to do each day, but also just not being hard on myself if I don't get everything done.
Yes.
Like it's so easy to be like, oh, I didn't get this done, I didn't get that done. So one big thing I do, you know, on my community, I actually posted one yesterday on my Instagram stories. I have this little template and it says, I may not have got this done. So I listed, like, I didn't get to do the groceries, I didn't change the sheets, but what I did get done was I played with my kids, we baked, we went outside. So it's really focusing on what you did get done and not what you didn't. That is the big shift for me.
Yeah. And I think one thing that, God, we all need more of these days is perspective. Yes. And that sounds like it gives us perspective on, you know, what we do achieve.
Absolutely. And if you think about when you're a mom, like, you do so much each day, like literally. So if you list all of that down, instead of being upset with yourself if you didn't, you know, send that email or do the washing or cook that dinner. Yeah. Think about all, like, you kept your kids happy, you kept them fed. People are homeschooling at the moment. Like, we just need to be kinder to ourselves, really. Show yourself some more compassion.
Definitely. So you've always been a list person and writing things down. When did you sort of think, oh, I could actually develop a product? And what was that sort of process like?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was something I definitely, again, didn't think. I can be quite hard on myself, and I'm getting a lot better with that. I think we all can. Yeah. But I've always loved planners, and the planners on the market were always just, you always had to add things on. Like, I like to have my workout planner in there. I like to have the budget. So all the planners on the market, they weren't pretty enough for me either. And I hated having to, like, add things on, because then when you added everything on, it's over like $100 for a planner. Yeah. So I remember sitting in my lounge room, because my business, Steph Pase Planners, is 2 years old now. Yeah. I remember sitting in the lounge room. I remember at the time my cousins were over, and I said to them, I just randomly I think I was having a wine, we were watching TV, and I said to them, what do you guys think if I made a planner? And they were like, yes. Yeah. And it just happened. So I've always had this image in my head of this planner having, like, a budget tracker, like your life admin, so you can plan, like, gifts, having daily to-do list, having a habit tracker in there, just literally everything in a book that you don't have to add things onto. That's the beautiful blush color. And so I worked with my graphic designer, and we created the design. I found a good manufacturer. Yeah. And I started doing it in my garage, and I thought it was going to be a little thing I would do on the weekend. And I sold out the first lot within, like, a couple of days, and then I bought more in, and now I'm in my second warehouse. So it's just exciting. Insane. Yeah, it's the most rewarding thing ever.
Knowing that you've built that up yourself and that it's all you, that's so incredible.
Yeah, and it's really nice. And it just every day I get messages from mums just saying they feel like they have more balance. And I think it's so easy for people to possibly come onto my Instagram and see it's all organized and that. But I feel like if you watch my stories and really find out the why behind it, like, people will get to know that I'm just all about empowering people. And I just don't want people to feel like they're a slave to their own home and their own life, because there's so much more important things to be focusing on. So I'm all about giving people the tools to feel like they can manage each day and get rid of that mental clutter.
If we have any listeners now who perhaps have an idea for a product in their mind, what would be some of your sort of top tips on actually turning that idea into a product and getting it off the ground?
Definitely. So let's say it's a physical product, because obviously if you're doing online courses and stuff, it's very different. But a physical product, I definitely want to make sure you're budgeting. Definitely getting a bookkeeper and accountant to help you with that as well, because I'm not the best with money. Like, I'm not. Yeah. I can budget, but I always underestimate how much things are going to cost, always. So just like double the amount you think you're going to need to save and do that.
Yeah.
And depending on what it is, you have to obviously, I guess, it depends on the product, but find a good like graphic designer. And then you have to do your research on manufacturers. And when you do, say you find a couple of manufacturers, get so many different samples made, because it does take a while to find the manufacturers that is like the quality that you want. It took me forever. And then when you find your manufacturer, that's where it is a lot better. And then basically, depending on if you're getting it manufactured in Australia or overseas, unfortunately, Australia is very, very, very expensive to manufacture things. So make sure you're testing out a lot of different manufacturers for the quality that you want. And you do really need to be picky with this, and also making sure that you're covering your basis in terms of having contracts in place. I just don't ever want to see any entrepreneurs getting ripped off, because you just never know. So having contracts in place. And then from there, making sure, with me, I never really had like a marketing plan. I just winged it, but I did do marketing at uni. So I'm thinking that's probably helped me along the way.
Probably.
So yeah, definitely, just showing the people behind the brand. So in terms of having anyone that has a small business, people want to buy from other people.
Yeah.
With me, I always have a purpose behind every product I sell, every post I make. There's always, and for me, that's just helping people, and people will know that. So if you're genuine, people will know that straight away. So definitely just take your time, save more than you think you need, and don't be scared if say someone on your team isn't working out, don't be scared to try other people as well, because you really want to align. Like the team I have now, we are all we work so well together, and the community that we have just even at work is just amazing.
So obviously you're the face of the brand, and you've got your sort of personal brand on Instagram, but who else is behind the scenes?
So for me, I've got, in terms of Steph Pase planners, because I'm kind of like split between two. I've got like the blog, Instagram, and then I've got SPP, so Steph Pase planners.
Yeah.
So in Steph Pase planners, I've got 4 people in the warehouse with me, and we pack orders, we answer customer service emails, just all like admin, bookkeeping, all that fun stuff. So there's 4 of us here. And then in terms of the blog, I've got a manager. So she helps me in terms of like brand collaborations and stuff like that. So that's pretty much kind of like my team. I've also got a business consultant. So she's really good for me in terms of like guidance, especially because this brand has grown very quickly.
Yeah.
So having like a business consultant, and even like having a good bookkeeper, is so important, just to make sure at tax time you're not going to freak out about anything that's happened, any hidden taxes that you haven't paid. So that type of thing. So that's kind of the team. And then obviously I've got Ryan, who's my little wingman as well.
Yeah. So you've obviously got this amazing range. Can you maybe give us a little hint or a little sneak peek as to what might be coming in the future?
Yes, so we've got, next month is pre-sales for the 2022 planners, which I'm always evolving and updating them, and they're just going to be so amazing. I'm going to be focusing more on helping people in business, and also mums and kids. So that's probably the biggest hint I've ever given anyone. So
we've got the scoop.
You do. So, and even products literally take me, like for example, at the moment I'm working on pens. I've been doing these pens for a year.
Yeah, okay.
Because the color has to be perfect, and it's so hard with lifestyle products. So paper goods like planners and notebooks and that, it's a bit more straightforward. But when it comes to like products like pens, just back and forth trying to get the color right, depending on what material it's on. And because I'm so picky, it literally takes such a long time. So when things are released, people are probably like, oh, cool, she made a pen. But I'm like, that took me forever.
Do you realize what has gone into that pen?
Yes, it's a very good pen.
So you share so much on your socials of how to make life, simpler and easier. And that's what we are all about, is making life simpler and better for women. What would some of your top tips be, apart from using your planners and getting organized, of course? What else would you suggest?
Definitely in terms of saying just like decluttering your home and getting your house in order, I definitely always say don't think of the big picture, because when you think of the whole house, you're not going to start. There's no way like that's just too overwhelming. And I know we all see these Netflix shows where people do the whole house in a weekend, but when you think that's not reality for us. So I always like to tell people to focus on like bit by bit. So do like a drawer one day, a bench the other, and you literally just chip away at it. And also it's something that's a work in progress, and it's something also like I like to kind of say organizations like fitness. So with fitness, you don't get to a point like a level of fitness and you just stay like that and you don't have to do it ever again. You have to keep chipping away at it. It's a habit you do every single day. So it's the same with organizing. Every day, if I see something's a bit cluttered, I'll just fix it up. Just be more mindful with purchasing items, stuff like that. But it definitely becomes a habit, and it does get easier, especially decluttering. You do get a lot more cutthroat. Like I can declutter a room in 2 seconds flat now because we've moved 7 times. So it is it's definitely a process. But I do have like free challenges. So I've got like a 30-day declutter challenge people can do. That's free on the website, and it's literally just doing a small task each day. And that's definitely something that's going to help you conquer your house, but also just obviously being kind to yourself and knowing that, you know, some days you're just going to lie on the couch and watch Netflix and that's fine. And some days you're going to probably declutter 5 spaces and that's good too. But I think just not basing your worth off your productivity or your to-do list is very important.
And very important in these times as well, in lockdown.
Absolutely. People are like stuck at home and just you can get pretty lost, but I'm hoping that by people like really working on their habits and their routines, they can, you know, find a hobby. At the moment, I've just gotten into plants. I wasn't a plant person
I saw you've
before.
got a plant in your shower.
Oh, I literally am obsessed. I don't know what is happening to me. I'm like, now I'm the plant lady, and Ryan keeps.
We're getting old. That's what's happening.
Oh, so funny.
Thank you so much, Steph, for joining us this week. I'm sure all of our listeners will, if they're not following you already, will head over and get some more tips and get a planner for next year. I hope this all ends and we're out of lockdown soon.
Me too. I hope you're staying sane.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of It's All Her, the podcast. If you've loved this episode, we'd love it if you'd rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen, and we'll be back in your ears next week.